The Vanishing of King Alaric, a chilling true crime story. It was supposed to be the grandest celebration in the kingdom's history. A lavish feast, a night of dancing, and royal toasts in honor of King Alaric's 45th birthday. The great hall in the royal palace had been adorned with the finest decorations, shimmering silks, and golden chandeliers. Music filled the air, and laughter echoed through the halls. But amidst the merriment, a chilling tragedy would unfold, one that would haunt the kingdom forever. The king, a revered ruler known for his fairness and wisdom, had invited everyone, noblemen, generals, dignitaries, and even the common folk, to join in the celebration. His eldest son, Prince Theo, stood proudly by his side, his eyes gleaming with anticipation for the night ahead. But as midnight approached, King Alaric mysteriously vanished. The evening had been filled with joy, laughter, fine food, and elegant waltzes. But when the clock struck 12, the king was nowhere to be found. The banquet hall, once alive with festivity, quickly descended into panic. No one had seen him leave. The guards outside his private chambers swore they hadn't seen anyone enter or exit. His personal attendants were in a frenzy, searching every corner of the palace. There was no sign of King Alaric. It was as though he had simply vanished into thin air. At first, suspicion fell squarely on Prince Theo, the king's eldest son. The relationship between father and son had been strained in recent years, marked by political disagreements and whispers of rivalry. Some said Theo had grown impatient with his father's rule, eager to claim the throne for himself. Rumors spread like wildfire. Had the prince, in a fit of rage or desperation, orchestrated his father's disappearance to seize power? Investigators quickly pounced on the possibility, and Theo was brought in for questioning. His answers seemed rehearsed, too polished for someone in the midst of a royal crisis. "I was in the hall, greeting guests," he insisted, his voice tight. "I had no idea the king had disappeared until after the celebrations had ended." But there was no concrete evidence to tie him to the crime. No witnesses saw him leave the hall, and the security cameras around the palace showed nothing unusual. He had an alibi, at least an unbreakable one according to his trusted aides. Still, the investigators weren't convinced. Suspicion clung to him like a shadow. The investigation into Prince Theo continued, but as days passed, a new lead emerged, one that no one could have predicted. Investigators began digging deeper into the private life of King Alaric, hoping to uncover some hidden clue. They were about to uncover a web of secrets that would change everything. King Alaric had been known as a strong and fair ruler, but in private, his life was far more complicated than anyone had imagined. The royal family had always been portrayed as perfect, a model of strength and unity, but the truth was far darker. Alaric had secretly been in a long-term affair with Lady Isolde, a woman of noble birth, for nearly a decade. The two had kept their relationship hidden from the court, but whispers of their clandestine meetings had persisted for years. When the investigators approached Lady Isolde, she hesitated at first, but eventually opened up about the king's complicated personal life. She claimed that the king had been planning to finally reveal the truth of his relationship with her at the ball, a bombshell that would change the course of royal history. He had intended to announce his love for her in front of all his guests, openly declaring her as the mother of his unborn child. But that revelation had never come to light. The king had disappeared before he could make his confession. Lady Isolde's admission raised more questions than it answered, but it also led investigators to a shocking discovery. Among the king's private belongings, hidden in a drawer in his study, they found a letter addressed not to Lady Isolde, but to someone else, someone who had been a ghost in the king's life for years. It was a letter to his younger brother, Prince Emery. The king's secret sibling, who had been thought to be dead for many years, was actually alive, living in exile after a bitter fallout with the royal family. The letter revealed the truth. King Alaric had planned to bring Emery back to the kingdom. He had intended to restore his brother's title and dignity, offering him a place in the court. But the letter also hinted at a more sinister plan. Alaric had confessed that he feared for his life. He feared that someone, perhaps even within his own family, would want him dead before he could reconcile with Emery. The investigators began to focus on Prince Emery as a new lead. How had he managed to slip past the royal security? What did he want from his brother? But the most shocking twist came when investigators uncovered a final piece of the puzzle. Prince Theo, the prime suspect from the start, had been hiding something more troubling than anyone could have imagined. He had not been motivated by greed or ambition, but by a deep sense of betrayal. It turned out that Theo had known about his father's relationship with Lady Isolde, and had even suspected that he might have a sibling. But there was more. Theo had discovered that his father had planned to give the throne to Emery, not to him. The king had intended to disinherit his eldest son, leaving the kingdom to the son he had once abandoned. In a fit of rage, Theo had confronted his father on the night of the celebration, demanding that he abandon his plans and declare him the true heir. But when Alaric refused, Theo, consumed by anger and jealousy, had done the unthinkable. In the midst of the celebration, while the guests danced and drank, Theo had taken his father away to the king's private chambers. There, in a moment of unbridled fury, Theo had killed King Alaric, his own flesh and blood. The prince had staged his father's disappearance to look like a tragic vanishing, hoping to evade suspicion long enough to take control of the throne. The revelation sent shockwaves through the kingdom. Prince Theo, the beloved heir to the throne, was arrested and charged with the murder of his father. Lady Isolde, devastated by the king's death, gave birth to their child in secret, but her love affair with Alaric would forever remain a tragic footnote in history. As for Prince Emery, he returned to the kingdom not to claim the throne, but to mourn the brother he had lost. The royal family, forever stained by betrayal, would never be the same again. The king's disappearance was no longer a mystery, but the truth behind it would haunt the kingdom for generations to come.